to be meditating on God is my friend and I am God's friend. What happens to your life when you can all hear me fine, right? Mm-hmm. No one's having a problem with it. What happens to your life if you're always conscious that God is my friend and I am God's friend? So why should we be in this consciousness? The actual reality, of course, is already that God is everyone's friend. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. It's already existing. It's already a fact. What we're talking about tonight is coming to an awareness of the truth. And it's a wonderful truth. When I was first interested in Krishna consciousness at university, I remember that one of my professors assigned us to do an evaluation of this one poem about all the pain and suffering in the world. And I said, I only want to write about truth. And he said, well, this is truth. And I said, no, truth is beautiful. He said, no, truth can be ugly also. So I was arguing with him. No, the absolute truth is beautiful. When you become aware of the truth, you become aware of something beautiful, something peaceful, something secure. In this world, we all put on a show of being very together. But I think we can safely say that privately we don't always feel so together. Isn't that? At least for me. I don't know about all you. In my private moments, I don't feel so together. We worry about things. Everyone, how are you? I'm fine. But we have so many anxieties. What if this will happen? What if that will happen? What if this person thinks this is... But the reality is that we're always in the company of our best friend, who's the most powerful. So when we become awake to this, when we become alive to this reality, then we find peace. We don't find peace by adjusting our situation so as to remove all causes of anxiety. By the way, babies are welcome. Prabhuji, babies are welcome. Yes. Thank you. I was in your shoes for many, many years. Babies are welcome. Unless she's screaming. She's screaming after taking. Other than... Please don't mind just little happy baby noises because we were all in baby bodies. And if we're not careful, a few years from now we'll be in one again. So, please treat them the way you'd like to be treated. So people think I'm going to find peace by adjusting the externals, by removing all sources of anxiety. My dear friends, that is not possible. You can never remove all sources of anxiety. The biggest anxiety is I'm going to die. You can't remove that one. Or I'm going to run out of money before I run out of life. Yeah. The only way to find peace and joy is to realize that God is always with me and He's my friend. And Prabhupada also says that only when we have realized that we are the friend of God, so God is my friend, and when I've realized that I'm God's friend, not only is He my friend, but I'm His friend, only then can I understand the higher truths of the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm sure most of us here have read Bhagavad Gita, yes? We've read, you're not this body, that the best way to be happy is to use our work, offer our work as a sacrifice, that whatever happening in this world, we're not really doing it, we're just the witness, so many things. If we really want to understand it, we don't want it just to be some theoretical book, but if we want to live it, then we have to become, not near equipment, then we have to become the friend of God. This is very cold. All right. So we're going to look at two aspects of friendship. One is friendship as a sadhana, as a practice. And this is one of the 9 processes of devotional service, which is what we've all been studying here, right? And this practice is for everyone. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what your eternal relationship is with Krishna. This kind of practice is for everyone. Everyone can experience God is my friend and I am his friend on that level. Then there's another kind of friendship that's only for certain persons and is a particular flavor of a relationship with Krishna for the realized soul. So we're just going to touch on that briefly. First we're going to look at friendship as a practice of self-realization for everyone. And it has two divisions called Visvasa and Mitra. So first we're going to look at this first division, Visvasa. So this means I have strong faith and confidence that the Lord is my benefactor. So we use this word benefactor. What does benefactor mean?
It means supplier.
A supplier. Yes, okay. What else?
Well-wisher.
A well-wisher. Someone who's concerned about my benefit. A benefactor. Someone who's concerned. They're not just supplying me, but they're supplying me in a way that will benefit me. They're supplying me in a way that's for my good. We think about benefactors in human society. These are generally, who are the benefactors in human society? Mother and father, supposed to be the government. That's the idea of government. Whether they live up to it or not is something else. But that's the concept. Right? The school, and your friends in general. Aren't your friends your benefactors? Isn't that the concept of friendship? Somebody who does good for me. Someone who's thinking of my welfare. Someone who's doing things for me for my welfare. So this term Visvasa and Shraddha means faith. They're very similar, but it's a little different. You could say this Visvasa, that Krishna is my benefactor, that this is how we get deep faith. Actually, can we turn off some of these lights? Is that possible? We can turn off all, if there has to be all or nothing, we'll take all off. And if we can turn off some banks, that would even be. Thank you. So it's when you achieve deep faith. You know, we often talk about faith. What does it mean to achieve deep faith in God? You know, a lot of people say, I believe in God. I believe that God exists. But when that faith becomes really, really deep, not just that he exists, but that he exists here with me as my benefactor all the time. So imagine how peaceful you feel, how happy you feel. If right there, right with you, all the time. So this is the result of deep faith, but there's a practice of meditating on Krishna as one's benefactor that leads to this faith. So you can both say that this Visvasa is this full faith and peace one feels as one's developed one's faith, but it's also a process, it's a practice. It's something you can do which brings you to this deep faith. So this, of course, Krishna explains in the 5th chapter. Suridam sarvabhutanam gyatramam shanti michiti. That if you know this, if you know, and as I said, it's already there, but if you become aware of it, that Krishna is right with me, is in my heart. Ishwara sarvabhutanam virdesha jinatistiti. I may be away from an ordinary friend, but I'm never away from Krishna. And he is my best friend and my best benefactor. Then what is there to worry about? Many years ago, I was in India and I was doing some service for some schools there. And one of the patrons of the school was a very, very wealthy person. So I was well taken care of while I was doing that work for the school. And then he said, Urmila, would you like to go visit some holy places in India? I said, sure. He said, well, I'll arrange for you to go to Vrindavan and Mayapur. Is that all right? I said, sure. So he arranged for a car to drive me to the airport, an airline ticket, the car to pick, and it was a nice car. The car to pick me up from the airport, a room to stay in when I was there, and it was a nice room. Everything was just taken care of. Wherever I went, it was just all arranged. And I thought, this is what it's like to feel that Krishna is your benefactor. I didn't have to think about what am I, that it was just someone else who was powerful, more powerful than me, and who was my benefactor, was taking care of me. So of course Krishna's not fallible. Some ordinary rich man may lose his money or may forget to call the car to pick you up. But if you know that Krishna's there as your benefactor, how peaceful you will be. So Krishna says in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Nir Yoga Kshema Atmavan. Yoga is to connect. Kshema is to protect. I really don't mind the children. You really don't need to take them. So yoga is things you don't have yet that you want to connect with. Something you feel you're lacking in your life. We all have things we feel we're lacking in our life? Yes? And then kshema, things you already have you want to protect. You've got your equipment, I want to protect it. You know? So near yoga kshema. Don't worry about this yoga kshema. Don't worry about what you don't already have. And don't worry about what you already have. Atmavan, just be situated in the self. Well, how am I going to do that? Yoga kshema vaham yaham. Krishna says, I'll deal with it. Prabhupada talks about if you work for a good company, if you have a good employer, a responsible employer, they just take care of you. There are still companies like that, yes? They pay you an adequate salary. May not be a gorgeous salary, but it's an adequate salary. You don't have to worry, can I pay the rent or mortgage? Can I buy my vegetables? You know, whatever. They give you sufficient materials for your job, whatever you need for your job, use of a car or a desk or whatever you need to get your job done. They even give you vacations. They may throw a birthday party for you. Yes? And a really good company takes care of these things so nicely that the only thing the employees have to think about is getting their job done. They don't have to worry about anything else. They don't have to worry, will I get paid? Will I get this? Will I get that? And if you have a really good employer, you can forget about it. Right? The traditional idea of the husband-wife was like that. I don't know if anybody does that anymore. But that was the traditional idea. That the woman didn't have to worry. Oh, my husband will take care of it. That's a concept also of the parents, the government. But Krishna actually can do that. One can say, I can just serve Krishna and he'll take care of me. Now, he may not take care of me in the way I have in mind. Considering that he's just slightly more intelligent than we are, huh? What do you think? Is Krishna just a little bit smarter? And if you think about a little tiny bug, you know, a little tiny fly or mosquito, and what it takes, how much intelligence it takes to engineer a little flying machine. How much intelligence it takes to keep all the planets in orbit without them crashing into each other. And they're never late. They're never canceled. You know, you go on an ordinary airline, your flight may be late, or it may be canceled, or it may smash into something. The planets are never late or canceled or smash into something. Can you imagine the astronomers say, oh, sun's a little late today. So Krishna's a lot more intelligent than we are, and therefore the way he takes care of us is perfect. We're not always able to understand it. We may sometimes see its opposite to what we think is care. But one who has this visvasa, that Krishna is my friend, he trusts his friend. He trusts his friend. I mean, we trust ordinary surgeons, huh? That's a lot of trust. Imagine how much trust people have in doctors. You're feeling fine, and you go for your checkup, and the doctor says, whoa, look at that. That's going to kill you in 2 years, and you don't even have any symptoms. It just shows up on a test, right? Don't you know people this happens to? They're feeling fine, they just go up for a checkup, and the doctor says, look, there's a tumor there, it's going to kill you in a couple of years. And you look at the scan, and it looks like a bunch of weird things to you. I didn't know what it is. You don't know if it's a tumor or your gallbladder, you know what the thing is. And the doctor, you got to do this, you have to take this medicine, and people will take medicine that makes them sick. Huh? Yes? Take medicine makes them vomit, and their hair falls out, and they can't go out around other people, and so many things. So much suffering. And radiation, and we have so much trust. We can't trust God? We're going to trust a doctor who says that's a tumor, it's going to kill you. I'm going to bombard your body with radiation and bombard your body with poison, so for the next year you'll be vomiting and all your hair will fall out and you won't have any energy and you can't even be around your friends because if you catch a cold it'll kill you. And we say, thank you, doctor. And we do whatever they say. Yes? Do we do that? Why can't we have that much trust in God? The Yogakshema Vahanyam. Whatever you have, I'm preserving. Whatever you need, I'm providing. When people get treatment like that, they thank the doctor. They don't punch the doctor. They thank the doctor. Oh, you've saved my life. Although the process for saving your life may not be pleasant. The doctor doesn't just save your life, with a piece of candy. So Krishna's way of providing what we lack and preserving what we have may not look, sometimes it looks very nice to us, sometimes it doesn't. But this visvasa, this faith, that God is there and He's taking care of me, brings you peace. And this, of course, is also in the Bible, this concept of Vishvasa. Seeing the Lord as like a shepherd, and I'm like a sheep. Prabhupada often talks about that when we have this faith, we feel like a sold-out animal. They've just taken care of. That's very nice. David says he gives me something to eat. He gives me water to drink. He restores my soul. And no matter what difficulty I find comfort in my friend. Now this is not just in terms of material things. It's also in terms of spiritual things. This is the confidence that Rupa Goswami talks about in the Upadesh Amrita. That one should be enthusiastic, patient, and confident. So how do we become confident that if I chant the holy name of God, if I serve the Lord, if I follow the instructions of the scriptures, I will become self-realized. I will attain my eternal position. I will come to a point of unending bliss. Because my friends promised me. He's with me, He knows, and He's promised me. It's like you get a map from the government. It's likely to be correct. So just some guy on the street draws you a map, who knows, But you get a map from the government. Or you get, a Google satellite map. They've actually taken a picture of the roads. So Krishna, He knows the map. And the map's leading to Him. He ought to know how to get to His own house, huh? So when Krishna tells you, here's how to call me, here's how to come to my house, and we trust, He's my friend, He's not going to give me wrong directions. So one has confidence that if I just follow these instructions, I will attain perfection. This is also Vishvasa. And this is exemplified by Draupadi, who says that no matter what difficulties are going on in my life, I remember your promise that I will take care of my devotee, Krishna says. And therefore, I am able to go on through whatever difficulties are there. This, of course, was Draupadi calling in the greatest difficulty. She's saying, oh, Krishna, oh, Govinda, can you please save me? And however Krishna wants to save us, we accept. Krishna has his interesting ways of saving. When He saved Draupadi, He didn't immediately make Dushashan fall over dead. Huh? I mean, He could have done that. Krishna's very playful. So instead of just having Dushashan's arm become paralyzed or something, He supplies this unlimited sari for Draupadi when Dushashan's trying to take off all of her clothes in public. So Krishna's he's very youthful and very playful and very creative in how he likes to save his devotees. there's this mood of Vishvasa. That not only is Krishna my shelter and my friend, he's my only shelter. He's my only shelter. I don't go anywhere else for shelter. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't use an umbrella. Or you don't have a house, or you don't have a bank account. Or you don't have a husband or family or friends in this world. But you know they're not your shelter. As soon as someone thinks, my friend in this world, my husband, my father, my mother, my auntie, my government, my job, my bank account, my talents, my creativity, my equipment, my children, my dog is my shelter, you will be very disappointed. And the devotee, while acting in this world, and pulling out an umbrella in the rain, and putting a plaster on a cut and ordinary things like that, the devotee is feeling, Krishna is my shelter and he's my only shelter. He's the only one who's always going to be there for me. In this way, the devotee attains peace. And the devotee can, therefore, with that platform of peace, understand transcendental knowledge. And whatever other shelter or position is offered to the devotee, they will never take it if it means giving up the shelter of Krishna. Like Lord Nrsingadev told Prahlad, you become king of the demons. And Prahlad accepted. But that was his service. But if someone says, you give up Krishna's shelter, I'll give you something else. You give up Krishna's shelter and we'll be your friend instead. Come be friends with us. Come try to please us. We'll take care of you. So Vishvasa is no. Whatever other relationships I have in this world, Krishna is my only shelter. So Vishvasa is the Lord is my benefactor and friend. He's my only shelter. It's only from him I get maintenance and protection. It's only from him that I'm only trying to please him. Generally we try to please those who are our benefactors, yes? If I'm convinced that I need something from somebody as my shelter, as my benefactor, I will try to please them. I will even sacrifice my principles and my ideals if I feel I'm really dependent on someone as my benefactor. Isn't this? So we find this. That if I think I really need someone, then I may not even act the way I would like to act. I may be disappointed in myself because I'm thinking, well, I have to please this person. If I don't please this person, I'll lose my job. How will I make money? How will I do anything of value? Whatever it may be. The devotee is feeling, I'm getting everything from Krishna. Even if apparently someone in this world has given me something, actually it's only coming from Krishna. He's the only one I need to please. And I will never give up his shelter thinking I have some other shelter. So what we've discussed so far is common to some extent to most, if not all, of the religious traditions of the world. Although generally they think of God more as benefactor as father, rather than benefactor as friend. Friend is a more intimate benefactor than father. But so far what we've said, pretty much anybody, you went to any church, mosque, synagogue, they would say something similar. But now we're going to go into another realm. The other part of Sakhyam as a sadhana, that of mitra. Now we talked about if we want to find peace, we see that the Lord is my friend. But then we talked about if I want to then go beyond peace, have the platform of peace, to full transcendental knowledge. If I want all the secrets of transcendence to open up to me, I have to not just see that the Lord is my friend, but I have to see that I am the Lord's friend. That not only is he my well-wisher, but I am his. Isn't that what friendship is about? Isn't it reciprocal? I mean, would you want to be friends with someone who was just taking from you? No, that's not a friendship. Maybe parents are just giving to their little babies. But that's not friendship. Friendship is giving back and forth. So how do we become the well-wisher of God? What do I give him? He's giving me everything. Yoga Kshema Vaham Yaham. What am I going to give him? He's got everything. He's the source of everything. And Prabhupada, in describing this mitra or friendship, says one of the key ways that we can show Krishna that I'm your friend is by teaching his message. Because that's something that Krishna doesn't have, so to speak. I mean, in one sense, Krishna cannot not have something. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnat Udachite Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasishite. He's complete, and even if you take something complete away from him, he's still complete. It's not like if you cut off my finger, I wouldn't be complete anymore. It's not like that. But there is something Krishna doesn't have. He doesn't have the loving service of some of the living entities. And it's not that Krishna himself is lacking in any way for that, but still he has some sorrow for them. Because Krishna desires, as the well-wishing friend, Krishna desires happiness for everyone. So someone who's bringing back the fallen conditioned soul, someone who's bringing back those in illusion to reality, gives Krishna something that he very much wants. Krishna wants everyone to come to reality. So the example of someone who's the friend of Krishna is the clouds. Mekaha Suridam. Suridam, of course, Krishna is also called Suridam. Rit means heart. Su means very well-wisher. So the clouds are considered the deep well-wishers of Krishna. Now the first reason given, interestingly enough, is that they're the same color. Now this is very deep. Do you know in this world we tend to have some feeling, I'm sure you all know, we tend to have some feeling of camaraderie or friendship with people who are like us? Have you noticed this? Have you noticed the world tends to split among the lines of what color you are? You've all noticed this? Everybody's noticed this, right? No matter what propaganda anybody makes against it, it still tends to happen. People like to hang out with people who are their same color. Funny, isn't it? Or from the same country, or from the same part of the same country, or from the same family. When that demon, Vrikasura, was trying to kill Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu stopped him by saying, "Oh, I know you, you're the son of Shakuni." And Vrikasura said, "Oh, a friend of my family. He must be my friend." We have this tendency, Arjuna was talking about this in the Gita, Swajana, my own people. We have a tendency to trust and have a sense of camaraderie with someone we think is like us. Now, of course, our material idea of someone we think is like us is not really accurate. Because we're not this body. What's that? That's the line. We're not this body. So if my body happens to have a certain shade of brown or green or purple and your body has the same shade of purple, it doesn't mean we're really the same because we're not the body. But this concept is there. Oh, this person's like me. And don't we try to be friends with people who aren't compatible? We try to marry someone who's compatible. Who is something the same as us. So of course, really, we're all very compatible with Krishna. We're all part of Krishna. We all have the same quality of Krishna. So one way that we can be Krishna's friend is to be like him. Not to be him in an impersonal, my God, weird sense. But that we can start exhibiting godly qualities. When we start exhibiting godly qualities, then we're acting as Krishna's friend. He wants to be with us. He's with us all the time. But he doesn't reveal that much to us unless we start acting like him. Then the cloud is also Krishna's friend because just like the cloud, when people are dry, of course this may not make much sense here in this part of the world, where you get far, far more rain than you need. But in many, many parts of the world, people understand that the clouds are their friends. because without rain nothing can grow. And when people are in distress because things are not growing, there's not enough water, they see the clouds as their friends. And Krishna acts in that same way. When someone's heart is dried up due to illusion and materialism, Krishna brings this rain of transcendental knowledge and transcendental love. So if we have the same, if we adopt the same, or not adopt, if we awaken, because they're already there, if we awaken, if we revive our godly qualities, and if we act in godly ways to help people, then Krishna feels, oh, here's my... So the material world is compared to this blazing fire. Blazing fire is compared to a blazing fire. It just happens automatically without anybody trying to start it. It's compared this way because when we try to satisfy our desires in this world, Krishna says our desires are never satisfied and they burn like fire. Do you know the research shows that however much money people have, they always want 10% more? Nobody ever reaches a point where they say, oh, now I have enough? I always like a little bit more. This is the tendency in this world. I mean, you may reach a point you say, okay, I'm satisfied. And how long does that last for? Then again, you want something else or something new or something different or whatever. Yes? Or something less. You want something less or you want something more or you want something different. And we never get to the point that we feel, I'm completely satisfied. So therefore, like a blazing, blazing fire, no matter how much fuel you put into it, it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. So just like if you have a forest fire, a great forest fire, it can't be put out just with fire trucks. It can only be put out by a rain cloud. So in the same way, this blazing fire of dissatisfaction, this blazing fire of, oh, if only this were a little different, if only this were a little less, if only this were a little more, if only I could do this, if only I didn't have to do this. This is all coming from illusion. This is put out by this water. And the friend of Krishna is one who acts like a cloud, pulling the water from the ocean of Krishna and pouring it down on the living entities in the form of spiritual love and spiritual mercy, which is what Krishna himself is doing. So therefore, we can become friends of the Lord in terms of all acting like clouds. And we can pull this water from Krishna and go to those who are suffering in the blazing fire of material life and help extinguish it with mercy and love. In this way, we become the benefactors of the Lord. Now, the cloud is also a friend in yet a third way, a very personal way. So the cloud is the friend of Krishna in that it has the same color as Krishna, and therefore Krishna feels some compatibility with the cloud. The cloud is the friend of Krishna in that, like Krishna, it's relieving people's distress, and it's also a very personal kind of friend. The cloud is forming an umbrella to protect Krishna from the scorching sunshine. I had some nice, I don't know why it's not. Anyway, I had some audio for that, but somehow not. Prabhupada reading it. So we can be Krishna's friend in those three ways. We can be Krishna's friend in the sense of having godly qualities. We can be Krishna's friend in the sense of relieving the distress of the people and bringing them to Krishna consciousness. And we can be Krishna's friend in the sense of saying, what does he need? What about his comforts? Is there anything that he's lacking? And being very personal about it. Here the cloud is saying, oh, it's very hot. It's the summertime. Krishna may be feeling very hot. Let me give him an umbrella of snow to cool him. So thinking like that of God as my friend. I'm going to just try and just see if we can get this audio. Prabhupada talks about, in relationship to this verse in the 7th canto, which is what you're focusing on, that one way of being Krishna's friend is to live in a temple. Just like if you have a good friend, you may want to stay at their house so you can see them more often. and you want to hang out with them. So in this way, one can think, Krishna's my friend. I'd like to spend some time at his house. So we can come to the temple in that mood. Oh, I want to go be with my friend. Now, there are some people who take this sadhana on a very intimate platform. They start thinking of Krishna as a person like them. They actually forget that he's God. And they even lie down in the temple. And this, Rupa Goswami explains, is doing this sadhana of friendship in spontaneous love rather than by regulative principles. So now we've looked at Mitra. So Vishvasa is, Krishna is my benefactor. He's my friend. He's always with me. In this way I find peace. And Mitra is, I am Krishna's benefactor. I am Krishna's friend. And because I am Krishna's friend, and he trusts me as his friend, he reveals then to me all the secrets of transcendent life. And I'm Krishna's friend by being like him, by helping other people advance in Krishna consciousness, and by thinking of how I can serve Krishna directly. Now we're just going to briefly touch on a very different category of friendship with Krishna. This kind of friendship with Krishna, the kind we've already talked about, is for everyone. Everyone can do a practice of bhakti, that the Lord is my friend and therefore I find peace. I am the Lord's friend, and in other words, I trust the Lord. Vishvasa is I trust the Lord, therefore I have peace. Mitra is the Lord can trust me, and therefore he can reveal his heart to me, and he can reveal transcendence to me. Anybody can do that. Anyone can practice thinking, I trust the Lord, and I want to act in such a way that he trusts me. But this next thing, this next area of friendship is in a completely different category. Once one has practiced bhakti yoga, once one has awakened one's eternal relationship with Krishna, one then realizes that they have a particular eternal way of dealing with the Lord. And one of those ways is also called friendship. So this is not for everybody. This is for some people when they start to awaken to their actual self. So again, this is a very, very lengthy discussion of this perfection of friendship. We're just going to discuss it briefly. This is called Sakhyam. So Rupa Goswami says that he offers his respects to those who understand that they're friends of the Lord, that they serve him with deep trust without fear, thinking he's their equal. So full friendship is you think someone's your equal. So as a sadhana, one may not be thinking like that. As a sadhana, one may still be thinking, there's God, but I trust him. And there's God, but I want him to trust me. Whereas in this Sakhya, as a sthai bhav, one has lost this concept that there's God and just thinking, we're buddies. We're friends. So there's actually an infinite number of categories of friends of Krishna. But we can look at two main categories. There's city friends and country friends. So the city friends, there's the examples of the Pandavas, Draupadi, Sudama Brahman. Okay, that's why it's a PA system. Were any mics left on at all? No mics were left on at all. And that's why we couldn't hear that other slide. Can you give me a mic? And I'm going to go back and play that slide that we missed. Now I know why I didn't play. Didn't play because I was going through a PA system. Let me go through PA systems. And I know why. Yeah, now you get to hear this one. Is it on?
I'll just plug it in.
Okay. Now it's messed up my computer. Oh well. Joy. We like technology sometimes. So I don't know if this will play right here. We can try. All right. You know what? I know what I'll try. We still have one more piece of magic up our sleeve. We don't give up easily. Have you noticed I don't give up? Gets me into trouble sometimes. Okay, we're going to try one more time.
In order to congratulate his superior friend, the cloud, instead of pouring water, begins to pour a small pieces of flower-like snows and covers the head of Krishna just like umbrella to protect him from the scorching sunshine.
Was that worth it to go back and do that? Now we're going to go back to Arjuna. So Arjuna, of course, is considered the epitome or the preeminent friend of Krishna in the city. And of course, Arjuna would be so intimate that with the Lord that he would eat at the same table and rest in the same bed and joke with the Lord and so forth and so on. And because of that intimate friendship, Arjuna was able to understand transcendental knowledge. And here's one example of Arjuna practicing this friendship, that on the battlefield, when Arjuna saw that arrows were being shot at Krishna, he stood in front of the Lord to take the arrows in his own body. That's the kind of thing a friend does, right? Isn't that the kind of thing a friend does? And he felt no pain. He felt like it was just flowers in him. We even experience this materially when we sacrifice for a friend. That sacrifice is pleasure for us. And then you have Krishna's country friends. So these are in these categories. Of course, Krishna's city's friends are also in these categories. Again, there's unlimited categories, just some idea. But some are a little older than Krishna, so they're well-wishing friends. They're mixed with parental. Some are a little younger, and their friendships mixed with service. And then some are the same age. Some are very confidential, and some are very intimate friends. And these are some of the exemplars of these different categories of friends. Mandali Bhadra and Balabhadra are the little older, well-wishing friends. Devaprastha is a little younger, serving friend. Sridhama and Sudama are around the same age, confidential friends, and Subal and Ujjwala are around the same age, very intimate friends. So those who awaken their eternal relationship with Krishna in friendship, they have all different varieties of how they're relating to Krishna as a friend.
Along with other cowherd boys, Krishna and Balaram went to the pasturing ground. Tending the calves, they sometimes danced with their ankle bells, making a tinkling sound. Sometimes they imitated bulls and cows by covering themselves with blankets. They imitated sounds of animals and birds, enjoying their childhood pastimes, apparently like ordinary children.
So those are Krishna's friends in the country. And how does Krishna feel about his friends? He said, when my friends were being devoured by Aghasura, hot tears poured from my eyes. And as they were washing my cheeks, my dear elder brother, for at least one moment, I completely forgot myself. So this is the deep love that Krishna has for his perfected devotees who are in the mood of friendship. And how do they feel about him? When Krishna's picking up Govardhan Hill, they say, you have spent 7 nights standing constantly without sleep holding up Govardhan. You must be very tired. Oh, my friend Krishna, throw the mountain into Sridham's hand. Our minds are very disturbed seeing you in this condition. Or at least place the mountain in your right hand, then we'll be able to massage your left hand. So you can see Krishna's always thinking how to please his dear friends, and his friends are always thinking how to please him. And what stimulates their feelings of friendship are the Lord, the other devotees, Krishna's beauty, Bugle, all these things induce those in this relationship to feel friendship for Krishna. So the friendship that all of us can practice is I trust Krishna. I trust him. He's my friend. He's with me. He's going to take care of me. His taking care of me is perfect. And Krishna can trust me. I care about his welfare. I'm going to be a person of exemplary character like Krishna. I'm going to help relieve people's anxieties like Krishna. And I'm going to try to relieve Krishna's take care of his personal needs. I trust God and God can trust me. I trust God and God can trust me. And when you have this, I trust God and God can trust me. I trust God gives you peace. God can trust me means that Krishna will reveal to you all transcendental knowledge. Krishna will reveal to you the meaning and the purpose of everything. And that is something that can be practiced. I trust God and God can trust me. And when we practice that, our real nature awakens. And for some of us, when our real nature awakens, we will find that we are one of Krishna's intimate friends in the city or the country or in some category, and that we may be playing with Krishna as his friends. So thank you for being very patient with the technology. Appreciate that. Sometimes everything works. So questions, comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I recently spoke to one of my friends, and he was saying that he owed a lot of money, and if he didn't get this money, he would be evicted from his house.
Okay.
And I said to him, just chant Hare Krishna and be happy.
Okay.
And he said to me, it'll take more than just a few wise words to get me out of this mess I'm in. So I wanted to give him some more encouragement spiritually, perhaps.
All right. So he's saying that he owes money. If he doesn't pay this money, he's going to be evicted from his house, right?
He didn't actually say why he was in this financial mess, but he needed about £10,000.
Not the kind of cash most people have in their back pocket.
As he would lose his home.
Or he's going to lose his home.
So I was trying to give him advice from a spiritual point of view.
Oh. Why do we want a home? Why do we want a home?
Shelter and protection.
Shelter and protection. From? From what?
The elements.
From rain and snow and cold and so forth. Why? Why?
They're uncomfortable.
They're uncomfortable. We may get sick. We're uncomfortable and we may get sick. We also, what else do we want protection from? What else does our home give us shelter and protection from besides the elements?
Other people.
Other people, especially thieves. What else? What else does our home protect us from? Someone knows how to turn this off. Creatures. Insects, dogs. It has no like button. It always works, just pull the plug. Huh? Okay. Now, another reason we want a home is to protect our stuff. It's a place to keep my stuff. So my stuff doesn't get damaged, my stuff doesn't get stolen, etc., etc. So I can have all the things I need to live. And we're thinking that unless I can do all that, I will not be happy and peaceful. So should I tell a personal story? This one's just begging for this story. So in 1996, my husband decided that he was going to enter into the forest as a vanaprastha. And at first when he did that, my life remained very much the same. I was still running a school and so forth and so on. And the big difference in my life was that my husband was now traveling and doing other service. But otherwise my life pretty much went on as it was. And then circumstances evolved, it's a long story which is important to tell all the details, where I wasn't in my regular home anymore, and I was looking around for where could I have a home, and where could I have somebody to take care of me, and where could I have some service that would maintain me. And things just weren't working out. I mean, I could find places to stay and people to take care of me, but I couldn't find any place to stay and people to take care of me that would facilitate the service I wanted to do for Krishna. I kept having to compromise what service I wanted to do. And it was one of my sons who said to me, Mata, for somebody who's so detached, you're very attached. I said, what am I attached to? He said, you're attached to doing a particular service. And I got off the phone and I thought, no, I'm not. I'm attached to security. I thought I'm attached to a home and money, an income, some kind of safety. And I thought, what would happen if I gave up that attachment? I mean, I was basically had a choice that I can have a home and security and not really do what I wanted to do for Krishna, because the people giving me those things were putting all kinds of conditions on me. Or I could do what I wanted to do for Krishna and not have any home or security. That was my choice. And I said, okay, let's go for it. And I had no idea what I was going for. It was kind of like jumping off a cliff, and you had no idea what you were jumping to. Just none, absolutely none. I had no idea what I was jumping to. So I learned many, 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 many things after that. I lived with that at home for about 6.5, 7 years. I still don't really have a home. I have a room now in my son's house. But I don't have my own home. But at least I have a room now. So for those years, like, my books were all in boxes, as Prabhu knows very well, who finally shipped all my books to Hawaii. But they were in boxes, they were being moved around from different people's garages. But I learned several things. I learned you don't need a home to be happy. At all. I didn't become one iota less happy without a home and without a set source of income than I had before. Not even one particle. At all. That was very astonishing to me. In fact, I lost a whole bunch of anxieties. I didn't have to worry about mortgage, I didn't have to worry about rent, I didn't have to worry about plumbing. I didn't even have a place I had to clean. I lost a whole bunch of worries. Now, of course, I gained some different ones. You know, I lost one set of anxieties and gained a different set of anxieties. And I lost one set of pleasures, but I gained a different set of pleasures. It was quite interesting. It was really fascinating. Until that point, I had assumed that without a home, you couldn't function. You know, I thought without a home, you're like somebody living in the park on a bench with your stuff in a plastic bag. You know, really pathetic. And I found it wasn't like that. Prabhupada says all the time, whatever happiness you're going to have, you're going to have. Whatever distress you're going to have, you're going to have. And I found out that it's true. I lost security. I lost material security, just to finish. And I lost material control, but I gained freedom. And it was so cool. It was like, wow, freedom is just as much fun as control and security. In fact, it's more fun. I didn't have to pay rent and mortgage. But then I had to figure out how to fit all of my stuff in one little bag that only weighed like 7 kgs and deal with airport security and always stay at different places, and sometimes the place you stay is what you like, and sometimes it's not what you like, and sometimes it's really clean, and sometimes it's not really clean, and sometimes the people are really nice, and sometimes they're not really nice. So I traded the mortgage, rent, plumbing, that stuff for the other stuff. I didn't lose anything, I didn't gain anything. Materially, I didn't lose and gain anything. Spiritually, eventually I gained like, wow, Yogaksema Vahamyam. And what was also really interesting is I was convinced that without a base, I couldn't do any service. Because I was writing and I thought, well, I have to have my books. I had originally 4,000 books, now I'm down to about 200. But anyway, I thought, without all my books and my papers and my files and I had everything organized, and how was I going to write? If I couldn't just like have this big desk. I'm a big desk person. A big desk. And on the desk, all my papers over here and all my books and everything there, and I know where to find it and I just pull it out. How would I do anything if I didn't have that? And if you've seen our Learn to Read books, I did that all without a home, without a base. Altogether, 200 people worked on that project. What's also really funny is I've been trying to do that project for maybe 30 years. And I always thought, first I have to have a big office and lots of money to pay like 200 people, or at least 20, to work full time. And I have to fly them in from all over the world and do this and that and the other thing. And it all happened without any of that. There was never a big office, and there was never a lot of money. There was none of that. It was just this thing. That was all. It was just the laptop and me and God. Seriously. And altogether, 200 people worked on the project, all over the world, and we were coordinating it from all over the world. And I thought, I don't need practically anything to be happy. So you can tell your friend that. You can also tell your friend that whenever Krishna takes away something, he always gives something else. And it may not look like what you have in mind. It may not, it wasn't what I had in my head. What I had in my head was, it's got to be like this, it's got to be like this, it's got to be like this, it's got to be like this. But it didn't got to be like this and like this and like this. It could be, got to be anything. And it ended up being so much fun. It ended up being so much fun that when my son said to me, Mata, we can build you an office at my house, and then you can have a place where you can have a base and keep your stuff. I'm like, well, I don't know if I even want one anymore. Seriously, I had to think for months about it. Do I even want to have a base? And what was really funny, or sad, or something, is I can't count how many people would sympathize with me as if I was in a difficult situation, and they'd come to me and say, Urmila, you really need a home. And after a while, I learned not to argue with them, and I'd say, yeah, you're right, maybe Krishna will provide it. But please understand that at first, I felt like that too, and I was in so much anxiety, and how will I live without this, and how will I live without that, and what will happen, and this 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 will happen, and none of it happened. It's interesting that Srila Prabhupada talks like that. I mean, when I was in that situation, it was the first time I really felt like I was a follower of Srila Prabhupada, actually, really. But there's this lecture I've been listening to over and over and over again, where Prabhupada was talking. It's on Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text 118. Can't remember where he gave the lecture or what year. And Prabhupada was saying how, he said, when Krishna takes care of you, he gives you exactly what you need, but it may include smashing you and taking things away. And Prabhupada said, I never wanted to take sannyas, Prabhupada said. He said, but Krishna forced me, put me in all sorts of situations to force me. He said, and now I am so happy. So what I would say to your friend is, do your best to be responsible and do your best to pay your debts. We're not supposed to be irresponsible. We're supposed to be representing Krishna in the world. You don't want people to look at Krishna's devotees and say they're irresponsible. They walk away from their debts. They don't take care of things. Do your best. But if after doing your best, this is an example given with Vasudeva and Kamsa. Vasudeva did his best to save Devaki and his children from Kamsa, and after a while, there was nothing more he could do. And he just says, okay, Kamsa, you can have my children. This was thought, at least let me save my wife. So after you've done your best, then it's, hey, Govinda, whatever you want to do with me. Even when you're doing your best, it's like that. And when you're doing your best, you're depending on Krishna. Krishna, whatever you want to do with me. If you want me to not have a house, then I don't have a house. You're my shelter. My shelter isn't a pile of bricks. My shelter isn't electricity. You're not my shelter. You're my shelter. If Krishna doesn't want you to have a house, he has so many ways of taking away a house. He can send a storm or a fire or whatever. And the time of death will be there. All of us are going to lose our house. You're going to be in your nice house and Krishna's going to say, come on. Not yet. Nope. Let's go. Maybe he'll give you notice, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll give you 2 years notice. Maybe he'll give you 2 days notice. Maybe he won't give you 2 seconds notice. So the whole idea of sannyas is you die before dying. That's the whole idea of sannyas. Nobody wants to die. Because we've invested everything in our body, our identity, our house, our this, our that, or blah, 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 blah. So, and we don't want to lose all these things we've poured all of our investment into. So if you die before dying, then death is not painful. If before death comes, Krishna is your only shelter. If your happiness doesn't depend on even something so basic as do you have a house or not. Oh, you want to know something else really funny during those like 6.5, 7 years? What I noticed is that the one question that any stranger feels comfortable to ask another stranger is, where do you live? I'd never noticed that before. You don't go up to a stranger and say, what's your name? You don't go up to a stranger and say, are you married? You don't go up to a stranger and say, what work do you do? But any stranger feels comfortable to ask any stranger, where do you live? Again, I'd never noticed this before. And when you don't have an answer, people get really flummoxed. Well, I don't live anywhere. I travel. Oh, but when you're not traveling, where do you stay? I said, I don't stay anywhere. I just travel. But don't you have a base when you're not traveling? No, I'm always traveling. Or where do you spend most of your time? Which month? That this was something so basic. People just thought, I absolutely need this. I mean, they just couldn't get it in their head. That somebody could be functioning, that someone could have a life of meaning and purpose and satisfaction and friendship and all the things we need, and security also. But you have to get your security from another place. So we can voluntarily see that Krishna is my only shelter. Or we can be pushed to see that Krishna is my only shelter. As I said to a friend of mine, Krishna calls his cows with his flute, his stick, and his rope. He can call you with a flute, he can pull you with the rope, he can push you with the stick. So if we come to Krishna and we say, my dear Krishna, I would like to be self-realized. I would like spiritual perfection. I would like enlightenment. And he says, this is what you have to do. You have to trust me and I have to trust you. You have to trust me, I have to trust you. This is what it's all about. And we're like, well, I don't know if I really trust you. I mean, I more trust my bricks. So, Krishna may call you with a flute, and if you don't come with the flute, he may use his rope, and if you don't come with the rope, he may use the stick. But then you get to be with Krishna, and it's all lovely. Is that all right? I hope I didn't bore all of you with my answer. Is that okay? Actually, we don't need anything but Krishna. We really don't need anything but Krishna. We don't even need these bodies, which is our ultimate shelter in this world, our own body. Pretty lousy shelter. Those of you who are young and healthy may not think so, but anyway, it's a pretty lousy shelter. Very fragile. It breaks easily, a little slip and you break something. Get sick easily. We don't even need these bodies. The body's not giving life to me, I'm giving life to the body. We don't need anything but Krishna. And sometimes Krishna reminds us of that and takes something away that we think we need. And we see that without it, if I depend on Krishna, I can still be completely happy and get all of my needs met. They don't require anything else to meet my needs. Anything else? Yes?
When you said earlier why we would trust a doctor and not Krishna, is it because we can't see Krishna, but you can see the doctor?
You can see the doctor and you can't see Krishna. Why can't you see Krishna? He says he's the light of the sun. He says he's the fire of digestion. Why can't you see Krishna? Everybody can see Krishna. Yes?
Thank you for an enlightening class. One question I had was, in order for the living entity to reject one situation and then accept another situation, like a spiritual situation, you have to have the confidence that Krishna will be my maintainer, my protector, my benefactor.
Yes.
All of those things must be there. And so to have that confidence is a very difficult point to get to. And I was just wondering why in Bhagavad Gita Krishna makes the statement to Arjuna for him to declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish. Why doesn't he declare that himself, and why is he asking Arjuna to
Oh, well,
declare
Prabhupada
it?
explains Krishna doesn't declare himself because Krishna is sometimes tricky. Like Krishna said he wouldn't take up a weapon in the battle, and then he took up a wheel. And so Krishna may think, Krishna told the gopis I'm coming back right away, and he didn't. So people may think that if Krishna declares it, that he'll be tricky. But they know that Krishna will uphold the promises of his devotees. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a long, hard process to trust Krishna. Just start doing it. If you think, I have to wait until I'm advanced before I can trust Krishna. But trusting Krishna is how you become advanced. And we were saying Vishvasa and Shraddha, they're practically the same thing. But by doing this Vishvasa, you attain Shraddha. You just decide, I'll trust Krishna. Trust Krishna doesn't mean you're a fool. Arjuna didn't close his eyes and say, okay, Krishna, I trust you. Fight. You act. Like I was saying, you tell this devotee you should try to pay his debts. Not that he just sits there, oh, okay, Krishna. Start trusting Krishna. Krishna's already taking kids. He's already doing it. He's already doing it. It's not that, well, if I don't trust Krishna, I'll take care of myself and I'll do a much better job. And if I do trust Krishna, who knows what he's going to do. But if I don't trust Krishna, then I'm holding on to everything and I'm controlling everything and I'm doing a great job of it. Anybody doing a great job of controlling their life? Anybody want to say, I've done a great job of controlling my life, it's all worked out just the way I planned. All the decisions I make turn out great. Anybody? Any hands up for that one? So, why am I not trusting Krishna? He's already in control of it. Just acknowledge it. It's actually not a difficult thing. It's not some big, woo. You have to be floating off the ground first. That's how you're going to be floating off the ground. I mean, not literally. But it's how you're going to get to that point. That's why it's a sadhana, it's a practice. It's a kind of perfection, but it's also a practice to achieve perfection. Like Krishna, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to do my duty, but I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to act in such a way that you can trust me. And then you try it, and it's interesting. And it's fun. And it's exciting. And it has surprises in it, too. How Krishna catches you is not what you expect. When he catches you is not what you expect. How he provides. That's what makes it exciting. If you want a boring God, you can always go to the Brahman. That's available for those who like God served boring. If you want to worship Krishna, he's very interesting. If you don't like very interesting, you're in the wrong movement. Krishna likes very interesting. When there's a flood, he doesn't dry up the water. He doesn't paralyze Indra's hand. He holds up a mountain. Now, if it's flooding and you went to the government and says it's flooding, you wouldn't expect them to save you by holding up mountains. So Krishna will save you in unexpected ways. Like I was saying with Draupadi. Right? When they're trying to strip off her clothes in the assembly, Krishna doesn't just kill the disrobers or make their army paralyzed or something. He doesn't do that. He doesn't just send this big lightning bolt, and the whole. He just supplies unlimited clothes. I mean, isn't that cool? So Don't expect Krishna to do cool things like that in your life. Don't expect him to save you and provide in some sort of, way you have. What's funny about that? Don't come to him with, okay, Krishna, I trust you. Yeah, I trust you, sure. But do it this way. Is that trusting him? And that's not even fun. Well, I trust you to do it your way, and I trust it's going to be fun. And I trust it's going to be okay. In the end, it will all be okay, so if it's not okay, it's not the end. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Ki Jai.
And see, we had the same problems even though we weren't doing the mic at the same time. Things that are designed for PA, they don't work with the computer.